Chapter 9, Obedience and the State of Subjection. It is a very valuable advantage to live under the direction of a superior, and whatever the generality of men think of the matter, more difficult and hazardous to command than to obey. Many submit more out of necessity than out of any principle of duty or choice, and to such as these, this is a state of continual torment. All they do is against the grain, attended with constant murmurings and complaints, the life of slaves and brutes and not of men, who should act with a spirit of freedom. And this native liberty no inferior attains to till he have learned to obey heartily for God's and conscience' sake. Whatever post you form an idea of, none will give you quiet and inward content equal with that of a state of subjection. Many have fed themselves with fond imaginations how happy they should be if they could change their condition for a higher. But few, if any, who have actually made the experiment have found themselves at all the happier or easier for it. 'Tis true indeed, every man's own judgment is the proper rule and measure of his actions, and hence it comes to pass that we are all best affected to them who are in the same opinion with ourselves. But 'tis as true that if God rule in our hearts, we shall not think much to recede from our own sense in some cases, when peace and the public good may be promoted by such concessions. For who is absolutely and completely wise that nothing escapes his knowledge? If then our knowledge but be partial and imperfect, 'tis but reasonable we should not abound too much in our own sense, but allow a fair hearing, at least to those who differ from us. And in such cases, a man gains a great point when he knows himself in the right, and yet in tenderness and charity can comply with the infirmities or mistakes of others, rather than offend God by being too tenacious of his own better judgment. I have frequently been told that it is much safer to take advice than to give it, for a man may have considered and determined well, and yet there may be some cases which may make it reasonable to depart from that determination and give ourselves up to be determined by other persons. And when these cases happen, to refuse such compliances manifestly betrays our own self-conceit, and is not constancy but obstinacy of spirit.